Hi, this is a story by Ann Kiemel entitled Buster. A little boy knocked on my door one day. He was dirty and hot, and he had a wad of newspapers under his arms. Want to buy a paper, lady? Well, what kind of paper is it? Grit. Grit? What kind of paper is that? I've never heard of it. Well, it's this paper I'm selling, lady, and it talks about... Well, I could have cared less. But I looked at him and he looked so tired and worn out. So I said, okay, how much? A quarter. So I went and got a quarter. What's your name? Buster. Well, hi, Buster. My name is Ann. Doesn't it get pretty hot walking these streets every day? Yeah. Get pretty tired. Yeah. Well, Buster, I'd like to be your friend. And if you're ever out selling papers and you get real thirsty or real tired, I want you to know you can come by my place and I'll make some cold lemonade and let you sit down in the cool and we can laugh together. How's that sound to you? Pretty good. And so Buster started coming by my house. I guess just because somebody cared about him. And he needed someone to care. One day I said, Buster, take me to your house. I'd like to meet your family. He kind of shuffled his feet. Gee, Ann, it's not very nice. I don't think you'd like it there. I said, Buster, I don't care where you live. I just want to go with you. So he took me to a little shack of 2 rooms, a bathroom and a larger room, and a father some 80 years of age. Buster, his little sister, and his father all lived there together. Their alcoholic mother had left them years before, and I only met her one time, and at that time she had a big gash across her head from where she'd fallen. I had never been in a place like that in my life. But I was out to love Buster to Jesus. He was part of my world, and I really cared about him. One day Buster said to me, do you like fishing? Well, I guess so. I mean, I'm not a very good fisherman. I hardly ever go fishing. Would you like to go fishing with me sometime? Well, sure, I'll go fishing with you. Where do you go? Well, there's this pretty good drain ditch up the road. Oh, well, when do you have in mind? How about Saturday morning? Saturday morning? I only had one day to sleep in, and that was Saturday. But if you love someone, you make sacrifices. Okay, what time, Buster? 5:30. Oh, Buster, I know that's way too early for the fish. They're not biting at 5:30 in the morning. That's way too early. Yes, that's the very best time. 5:30 in the morning. That's when they really bite. Well, okay, love. You come by at 5:30 and we'll go to the drain ditch. If we were going to a nice lake, I might be more excited. But a drain ditch at 5:30 in the morning? He showed up 15 minutes early and I wasn't even out of bed yet. So I pulled up some old clothes, put them on, and we headed for the drain ditch. He had dug a can of fat, slimy worms. So when we got there, I said, Buster, I'll tell you what, I'll hold the worms while you fish, because I don't really know a lot about fishing. You fish, and I'll hold the worms, and maybe later we'll switch. So I seated myself on a cold, hard rock, holding the can of worms, and Buster went down to the drain ditch. It was in his heart. He wanted me to see him catch a fish, and he tried. He'd say, shh. Buster, I told you it was too early. Shh, be very quiet. So I'd sit there looking at those ugly worms, praying, God, please help him to catch a fish so we can hurry and go. After a while, the sky began to get darker and darker, and it began to pour. Buster, are you sure the fish bite in the rain? Sure, they bite anytime. But in the rain, Buster? Sure, it's no problem. I was getting desperate. The water began to run in my hair. God, will you please hurry up? Buster was not leaving without a fish. Finally, he caught one. And we were both dirty and wet, and we got in the car, now with a fish in the can of worms. On the way home, I said, "Hey, Buster, you hungry?" "Yeah." "You want to get something to eat in a coffee shop?" "Wow, you mean a restaurant?" "Well, yeah, nothing special, just a..." He thought he'd like that. It just so happened there must have been 50 businessmen having breakfast that morning, well-dressed, sophisticated, and we were dirty and wet and smelled like fish. And they seated us, and I whispered, "Now, Buster, you get anything you want. If you want 5 eggs and 3 pieces of bacon, then you order it." And he did. I couldn't believe it. 5 eggs and bacon. And as the waitress walked away, he said, "Ann, I never been in a place like this. This must be the best in town." I couldn't believe that either. But Buster had never been in a restaurant. I loved Buster. Every time the social worker would come around, his dad would send him on his bicycle to me. "Go get Ann. I need her down here quick." I made all the family decisions. I decided what they did with their money. I told the father what to do in every situation. He began to lean on me as if I were his eldest child. I prayed them through the rough times. I baked fudge and cookies. I'd laugh with Buster. I'd walk with him. Buster and I cried together. He'd tell me about how embarrassed he was about where he lived, and every time I dropped him off, my heart ached. Did Buster come to Sunday school? Only about 3 times in 2 years. But you see, I was out to love Buster. Not if he came to Sunday school, not if he did what I thought he should, just to love him. Through thick and thin. To love him even after I bought him a suit and he overslept and didn't make him to church. To love him anyway. Buster's in the service now, but I still hear from him. He's about to get married. And there's only one person in my life who ever really loved me, and God lives in me because you loved me. Just a simple thing like loving him brought God into the life of ordinary Buster. A lot of times you tell people God is love and they laugh. Are you kidding? Do you see where I live? Did you see my dad beat me last night? God is love. I don't buy it. The only love people in your world will see is you. You and God loving them. Then they'll believe.